Greetings, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette, and this is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I'm a professional intuitive empath, and that means that I chat with you guys all day, and I love it. Let's talk about this. Seduction. What are you talking about, Monette? Seduction. I was studying Robert Greene, who you guys will see me on camera here shortly teaching about another 48 laws of power, and I was studying him, what I love about Robert Greene, if you are not familiar with his work, is that he, um, has made peace with human nature. A lot of us fight against human nature and about the truths that we realize in other people. And I referenced the behavioral panelist quote, which is that the organism does what has made the organism successful. So whatever has made an organism successful is the behavior that they will traffic in. Even if they're receiving other intel and opportunities to alter the behavior for their greater good or for the situation's greater good, an organism, yourself included, empath, will behave in the ways that you have learned to behave that have made you successful, whether it's manipulative, emotionally not fair, honest, laughter, fun, kindness, even seduction. So there are archetypes that we all have in our personalities, and you can pull from an archetype and try to utilize that for yourself, or you are naturally a thing. Robert Greene has written many books, the 48 Laws of Power, I literally have my pantheon of books in front of me, Human Laws of Nature, War, the Daily Laws, and then, let's see, Mastery, amongst many other titles. So I'm an avid studier of this, but it is not about manipulation. It's about to understand what we do. Let's talk about seduction. We all understand what it is to be seduced, but I want you to understand the frequency that that vibrates on. And he taught a really succinct lesson about that. Seduction is generous and it is lavish, right? If you're seducing someone, or if you're in the process of that, or you've ever been seduced, someone is generous with their time, energy, or resources, whatever they may be. If they don't have financial resources, maybe they're generous with their time. If they don't have time, maybe they're generous with their money. If they have both, maybe you get that. If they have edification, kind words, whatever, they might lavish that upon you. That is very seductive. Who does not like to be paid attention to? Who among us does not? We all do. Here's the deal. Tightness is the antithesis, the opposite, or the enemy of seduction. So if you ever felt someone constrict, pull back, or withhold, that's a turnoff, right? We don't necessarily register and go down the list as to why it's a turnoff. We just intuitively and primally register that something's being withheld. We don't question it. We don't write a synopsis, a thesis on it. It's just noted. That's how our human behavior is. And again, I love Robert Greene because he's made peace with human behavior instead of trying to fight against it. We are manipulative. We are fair. We are fun. We are duplicitous at times. We are dishonest with ourselves and with others. Every single one of us is that. Myself included. I have been those things. I can be those things. And without holding myself to great account, I fall back into that if I'm not careful. So none of us amongst us are perfect. And so that's why I try not to judge so harshly when I'm observing behaviors in other people that I don't necessarily like or think are fair or right, because I think I too have done this to some degree to somebody at some point, right? That is the truth of our human nature. And to reconcile with that, especially as empaths who would like to see the world in all these bright colors of love and light, is to know that our shadow exists and things go bump in the night, and there is a duality that we will traffic in no matter how much we are thinking well of ourselves, or how much we like someone, or how much we want to be connected with our family, or how much we like that new lover, or how much we like our spouse. You will have weirdness happen that comes out of your face, mouth, and energy. But think about this: if you are in a dating position, or even in a connection, new connection, friendship, whatever, is that the right strategy? And it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. Like, you decide it's not the right strategy. Fine. I don't like how that feels. Fine. It may not be anything that you have to pour over with that person. You register it and then keep it moving. If someone's withholding, if things feel difficult, if things feel cumbersome and not easy to come to a certain place, then you are not being seduced, meaning they purposely may not want to seduce you. They are not in the market to seduce you. They are paying attention to whatever their internal signals are, and they're withholding. Or you might be in the process and presence of a seduction. But understand that basic thing that word that is very powerful and sometimes scary, but something we all have been under the thrall of, and all have wanted to be be under the thrall of and underneath that energy, meaning it feels good to have that kind of energy poured into you, then pay attention if you notice that it's restricted. Pay attention to how you've been, if you've ever been in the state of wanting to entice somebody in, or you cared about somebody or whatever. What was your level of giving? What was your level of generosity? What was your level of emotional investment, right? It's not just the financial part again. Seduction happens on multi fronts. And so if you are in a space for a new beginning and you are being that person that is giving and generous and kind and emotionally available, whatever the case may be, then know that that's the energy you're trafficking in. It's very seductive. So if you're in a new connection, shout out to all my girlies and guysies that are, then that's what's happening. Observe that and understand human behavior. But also notice when something shifts, because things do shift sometimes. And if something's withheld, if something's tight, it is the opposite. It will be a turnoff. And pay attention to that. As empaths, I think we're so used to eating from the scraps and the breadcrumbs of the table that we don't ever go juicily for exactly what we want. And I have to check myself all the time, guys, whether it's about seduction or daily behavior or the organism being what the organism will be to make it successful. I have to check myself to make sure that I don't find myself in a place of settling, or that I don't allow anybody around me that I love or care about to settle. Even if it's to my own detriment, even if it means that I lose something and I can tell that it's going to cause someone else to settle, that is my empath soul. It's not that I'm going to throw myself across the coals for that person. It's that I'll be fair about it and be like, yeah, that's not fair for you, is it? And that's a thing that you can do. But if tightness is happening and withholding is happening and you're in the new dance of something, that's a red flag for you, because that person is then not putting in the energy. Forget about anything financial. They're not putting in the same energy match as you. Why is that? Why are they holding back? Why did they get tight? What happened and what shifted? And even if you can't answer all of those questions and write a dissertation about it, it is not necessarily always for you to do that. Sometimes it's just for you to note it and then stop doing whatever you're doing. If you're being effusive, if you're being seductive, if you're being kind, generous, sharing of your time and resources, and the other person isn't reciprocating it, or they are acting like they're not sure about you, that's intel, guys. And a lot of you guys, when we do readings and stuff like that, that's intel that I take a look at because I'm not in it. It's so much easier when you're not in it to see it. So I love to do that. But even you will not always have a me by your side, or a bestie, or a friend, or anybody. And I actually, when I'm in situations like that with new connections or old connections, and I notice something's going awry, I don't always run it up the flagpole to anybody around me, because the truth of the matter is, until you are in person with that person, interacting with them, you will not know what their behavior is going to do. So you cannot ask someone else to advise you about that. My decisions are really grounded and rooted in myself. And I kind of don't love when other people, like I've observed in the past, when other people needed to have a bevy of their friends weigh in. I find that to be like super weak sauce. Like, it's okay to communicate, right? We all do. We all talk about things that are going on in our life. But my one-on-one decisions about things are one-on-one decisions. So if you're in a connection and maybe, let's say, no one likes the person in the connection, or everyone loves the person in the connection, the decision still comes down to you. And it's about what that energy do. Do you feel like they're withholding and being tight, or are they being lush and seductive and enticing and giving of their time and strength and energy? You have been in both of those positions in your life. If you're listening, you have been tight with someone withheld. You've also been seductive and wanted to bring them in. And so it is okay to exist in that. Again, be at peace with our human design. Be at peace with our basic human nature. We are who we are. We're primal. We're animalistic. But if it's not working for you, you can divest from it. And if it is working for you, then you can lean into it. But pay attention to the subtle nuances of what you are being given, because people don't always say what they are thinking or feeling. And not everyone is a professional intuitive empath, and even me as one gets it wrong in intuiting things with people from time to time. But you know what's never wrong is body language and energy. I pay a lot of attention to that. I can't help it. It is just who I am. I would advise that you, if you care about this stuff, take some interest in, watch a body language video. Pay attention, because you'll catch these micro expressions that we all do, myself included, when we are disgusted or ashamed or turned off or turned on or aroused or interested? Did someone stick, like, there's little things like teeth and tongue, just a weird aside here, are huge tells of attraction. If someone bares their teeth to you, now also that could be we're about to fight. So we're primal that way. So it can go left or right. That's what I mean by there are two sides. Seduction feels like this, and the opposite of seduction feels like tightness. If someone sometimes is baring their teeth and they're talking or they stick out their tongue or things like that, these are flirtatious things that across the board would be said by any behavioral analyst. So if you're in a situation and you notice that, pay attention. If someone looks down to a certain direction, these are tells. Someone that's scrunching up their nose in a certain way, some duping the light, the slight smile that comes when someone thinks they're getting away with something. These are things you need to know as an empath that will help you go through the world, because you'll save a lot of time arguing with someone about what do they mean, and you will be paying attention to what they're doing in front of you. Physicality matters, especially if you're in relationships. One of the things in my life, one of the themes in my life has been long distance connections in relationships. And so the time that I spend in front of somebody is so precious to me, because I know it is fleeting. It's just been the way my chart's set up. I'm destined for long-term connections. That's all. Or well, oh wow, that was Freudian. I guess I'm destined for long-term connections too, but I'm destined for long-distance connections. Most of my best friends, in fact, every friend that I've ever had that's been a great friend has been someone that never lived next to me. It's been a long-distance connection. So the time in front of them matters, and I make the most of that, out of that, and I pay attention to the body language in it. You should feel safe, okay, when you're with people that you're connected with in all ways. But also, back to the seduction and the opposite of it. If someone's withholding, if someone's tight, if someone doesn't want to share their words, energy, communication, whatever. I'm just talking about the basics of a relationship. And that could work for a friendship too. Then pay attention, because even in friendships, there's seduction. Yes, we have our girl crush, we have our woman crush Wednesdays, or a guy crush Thursdays, or whatever. Like, it's a thing. Excuse me. Oh, guys. Ooh, they didn't want me to say that. It's a thing. So, for crushes of all kind, for relationship connections of all kind, pay attention to the give and the take, the yin and the yang, because that's how you will be able to tell if you'll be able to go forward and bind your relationship in a real way. But pay attention to that. Does it feel good? Are they pulling away? Are you leaning in too much? Empaths, I'm guilty as charged. Totally someone who can lean in too much, especially if I'm like, oh, this is going to go great. This seems like the perfect situation. Sometimes it's not always a perfect situation, and that's why I really develop these skill sets. One, to be at peace with our basic human nature. Someone rejecting you isn't the end of the world. Someone loving you isn't the beginning of your world. Your world existed before these things happened, and it will continue to exist in spite of it, in the absence of it, or in the presence of it, okay? So don't predicate your existence on a human being, because that's not healthy, is it? But it is nice to be cared about. It is nice to be seduced. And it is nice to be the seductor in either way. But be clear about who you are in that, and understand when it's happening, and then understand if someone's pulling away. A lot of calls I wouldn't have to take if we all paid attention to that. And what I mean by that is the beginning preliminary parts of relationships, we override signals because we like or care about someone, or we want it to turn out a certain way. We're attached to the outcome. So that's a thing that's talked about a lot in metaphysics. Don't be attached to the outcome. I don't care how much time and energy someone's put into seducing you. I don't care how much time and energy someone's invested into you, whether it's platonic or romantic, the communication, whatever. If their behavior starts to waver, that's the tell. That's the tell. That's the body language tell, is the behavior. What are they doing with you? What aren't they doing with you? What are they saying? Juxtapose what they are doing. Sometimes it will be subtle, quick things that you need to pick up on. Sometimes it will be big old behaviors that you can't miss. But either way, sis, it's your job to assess it for your own safety, so that you can either keep or dismiss. It doesn't mean that either one of you is bad. It means that you're not in alignment, and that's just the way that it is. All right, come back and join me next time, and we'll continue to evolve together.